What's up, champions? Welcome back to JetSurf Nation, your place to test and review different jetboards and efoils. Today, in this sunny day in Portugal, here in Baleal, I welcome legendary Dominic. Welcome to the show, Dominic.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
If you don't know Dominic, he's a real legend in the sport of foil drive. He was actually the first user of the original foil drive a few years ago, yeah? Tell us quickly how you got into the foil driving, Dominic.
I don't think I can claim the first user, but I think I can claim that I was the first person to ever actually buy a foil drive, which they really weren't expecting because they're an Aussie company and I was living in Oman at the time. So they were really shocked to get an email from me. But yeah, first person to buy a foil drive, loved it ever since, and I'm super stoked on the new upgrade. It's so good. I actually started working for them.
Yeah, so it's been a success story and I'm very happy you found time to visit us here. So let's not beat around the bush, we got a lot of questions. So let's keep this video as short as possible, as some of you requested, under 2 hours or less.
We'll try.
Yeah, but we'll try to keep it detailed without generic fluff and filler. I have a list of questions here that I printed from Facebook, from the Foil Drive Owners group. And in case you don't know and you're buying foil drive, make sure to join Foil Drive Owners group. It's a place where you can meet Dominic and Paul and Ben and other legends, and they answer all the questions. You can share your experience, your setup, and people will give you a lot of advice.
Yeah, I think that's really important for people to know that there's a huge amount of resources available, not just through Foil Drive, but through the Foil Drive community. All the users are really generous in giving their time to helping anybody. So if you've got any questions or want to find out anything at all, then go to the Facebook owners group, type into the search box, or just put a post in there with your questions.
Alright, so I have a big list, so let's try to keep each question under 1 minute, and I have like a lot of them. So first, with some basics, the differences of the max and slim, and which will you recommend for which kind of rider?
That's a really good question, and it's so important because you might look at them both and think, yeah, the assist is the one for the best overall performance. And while they are both really good in performance, they're very different in what they deliver. The assist, you can look at in basic terms, you can think of the assist slim as just being an assist only. It's got plenty of power to get you up on foil, but once you're up on foil, there's limited runtime for using the motor when you're on foil. The Assist Max can do everything. It's got loads of runtime with the power battery, and when the sport battery comes out, that's a lot of a reduction in weight, but it's also got a really good runtime, about the same if not slightly more than the Assist Plus with the standard battery. So if you want runtime to do hybrid motoring or efoiling of any sort, the Max is the system you have to go for. If you don't care about runtime, you just want a boost to get up on foil in all sorts of conditions, whether it's wing foiling, flat water pumping, surfing really big swell, or anything at all, but only as an assist, then the slim is the one to get.
Mm-hmm. So, and if we can get into some specifics, the question was to compare the sports battery and the big battery of the Max. Like, what kind of ride time are you gonna get? I saw yesterday you were here having a session and you were almost close to an hour. But what kind of foiling you're using? It's a mixed foiling?
That sort of foiling that I was doing yesterday is what I call hybrid foiling. So it's a real mixture of using the motor and my legs for pumping. Obviously when I'm on foil surfing the waves, I don't use the motor at all. But to help me link waves, I'm using the motor a lot, a mixture. So yeah, I would expect in those conditions, which are super rough, it was just under an hour, but I can easily get up to an hour and a half if the conditions are less rough than what we had yesterday. That was difficult conditions yesterday.
Well, we came in winter.
I know, I come in winter, what can I say? So the sport battery with the Max is just slightly lighter than the Assist Plus with the big battery, but you get the same runtime, if not slightly more. And don't forget that the weight is positioned directly on top of the mast, so there's no swing weight. In actual fact, you notice the weight less when you're on foil with the Max or the Slim compared to the Assist Plus. The Max power battery, that's the biggest battery, will weigh just under 1 kilogram less than the Assist Plus with its biggest battery. But again, you are affected less by the weight when you're on foil because of the position of the box and the battery. I can get definitely over twice the runtime with the power battery than I used to with the Assist Plus and its bigger battery. Definitely more than twice the runtime.
Okay, so now most important part, of course, is the board. So we spoke a lot to Paul about this, and the philosophy is that you can have more fun having little bit bigger board and smaller foil rather than having like super small board like me and struggling to lift up and having to use big foil. So what's your philosophy about this?
My personal philosophy is that I'd rather be on foil having fun regardless of the size of the board and the size of the foil. Yeah, wherever possible I would like to go as small as I can with both, but I'll first and foremost match the foil to the conditions. If I'm downwinding in super light wind, I'll have to go with a bigger foil. It's just a no-brainer. And bizarrely, the bigger the foil, you can actually use a really small board because the lift comes from the foil rather than you need a big board to help. So with a tiny foil, say on flat water or small surf, then I would be using a bigger board like this. This is 5 foot long by 19 inches wide and 55 litres. I had this designed as a prone downwind board. It works amazingly for downwind. I can't tell you how good it is. But what I've also realised is it's a really good all-round board shape and design. I can flat water pump with it, I can surf with it. And yes, I'd rather be on a 4.6 for surfing or a 4.0 for flat water pumping, but you can do it with this board. So at the end of the day, board choice and foil choice is totally up to the individual, personal preference. And we would always advise people to start on big boards and foils and then just go down in size for both, one at a time, and see for your weight, your riding style, your skill level, the conditions you're in, what size board and foil works best for you. If you rock up straight away with a tiny board and foil and no experience in foil drive, you're going to struggle. You really will. You need to start big, work your way down.
Yeah. So what you were advising is not what most of us, and even I am doing. With smaller board, we keep it like this, so we create a lot of drag. That's what you were explaining to people, that we have to level the board.
Exactly. The technique you need to use for getting on foil with foil drive on a small board or a small foil is to keep the board flat on the surface of the water. If it's angled up the nose even slightly, you'll just be pushing through the water, creating drag, and you'll never reach the speed you need to take off. And of course, the smaller the foil is, the faster you have to be traveling before you can achieve lift. Now, the board that you were using yesterday, and I think this is worth pointing out, has a really big rocker, and that curved nature of the board is making it super difficult for you because it's always trying to ride nose up, therefore pushing through the water like a wakeboat hull. If you've got a flat-bottomed, a flat hull, at least for the first 2/3 of the hull is as flat as possible, that really helps the board to just get up on top of the surface of the water and skim across the top. That allows you to build up speed, and it makes it so much easier to get up on foil, especially with small foils.
Okay, so speaking of the boards, it's good to give a couple of pro tips as well. The first one is, like you mentioned, if you have a pretty bad board like me with a big rocker, it might create a gap between the nose cone of the long Assist Max and the board itself, so which creates a lot of drag, so we need to put some foam there.
Yeah, in the kit that you get when you buy the Assist Slim or the Assist Max, there will be a number of little foam pads that are shaped to go between the nose cone and the board, stuck onto the front flat side of the nose cone to fill up any space. Now, your board has an extreme rocker, and we had to fit I think it was about 6 or 8 mil of foam underneath there to fill that gap. Once that gap is filled, it should be perfectly okay and there shouldn't be any problems whatsoever. But if there is a big gap, we recommend that people use some foam of some sort to fill the gap so that it doesn't create unnecessary drag.
And another pro tip would be to put foam inside the tracks of the attachment of the mast, to improve the signals for carbon fiber masts.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, the secret source of the signal transmission for the Gen 2 products will remain a secret, but in principle the box uses, or the system uses, the board as part of the antenna. So you need to get the signal into the board, and then the signal has to go from the board into the box. Now, to help with carbon boards, because carbon is very good at blocking wireless signals. This board is made out of fiberglass, no problem with signals getting through at all. But with some boards, especially carbon boards, what we're finding is that if you fill the tracks with closed cell foam, then that prevents water from getting into the tracks. And of course, water, like carbon, also blocks wireless signals. So by filling the tracks with foam, it means that there's no water in the tracks. The signal can go through that foam rather than getting blocked by water, and it just improves the signal transmission no end. And we genuinely haven't found any boards. We've tested so many, even full carbon boards, a whole range of them, and we haven't found any boards that we've had problems with, as long as you keep a bit of the nose out of the water at all times, or you can hold the controller against the side of the board like that, or on top of the board, and that will allow the signal to go through even when you're pushing the board and controller underwater. I like to duck dive, going through white water if you've got a shore break, holding the controller against the side of the board, continually throttling, force the nose of the board and my head just under the white water. You don't have to go very deep, but it'll still retain signal, so that I pop up the other side and I'm still motoring through. It makes getting through a shore break so much easier.
Yeah, and it's really amazing that Generation 2 system has no annoying cables, because in other competitor systems that I've seen, each time they have this little tiny cable that you need to put on top, and then you put here the antenna receiver, and it looks so messy, to be honest, and you feel like you're getting expensive system and then you still need to put these little antennas and all. It doesn't look professional, in my opinion.
As far as I know, this is the only retrofit system that has absolutely no cables or receivers or antenna or anything on the surface of the board. And even those cables that bring the receivers to the top of the board, they will still create drag, especially if they're strapped to the side of the mast and have to go up the side of the board somewhere. So yeah, it's such a well thought through system.
So speaking of the masts, now we have several options. First, you can have a system that you attach to your own mast on top with the duct tape and all. Then you have integrated axis mast and integrated cedrus masts. So just give us what options do you recommend to the riders?
Okay, so this could take a while, but it's worth going through. Okay, so in this particular case, it's a normal axis mast that I've taped the cable. This is a 20 centimeter cable length motor, and that can obviously be attached to any mast whatsoever. You just have to get the right mast adapter to fit your mast. The motors with the cables, the lengths are 15, 20, 25 centimeters for assist positions, and you can order a 60 or a 70 centimeter cable length if you want to have a motor close to the fuselage for continual motoring around. Now, those measurements are measured from the center of the motor pod to the mast plate. So from here to the mast plate. If you're using the max, then the total distance from the bottom of the board to the center of the motor pod will be an extra 5 centimeters, and if you're using the slim, you have to add on an extra 3 centimeters. But that extra length does not affect the performance of your mast at all. It doesn't make it more flexible, doesn't alter the performance at all. When I go from a normal 85 to a 90 centimeter mast, I really notice there's a difference in turning performance. But for some strange reason which I can't explain, even using my 82 centimeter mast with the max, which is essentially turning into an 87 centimeter mast, I've noticed absolutely no change in performance from that mast at all. In fact, it gives a positive benefit of helping me to prevent breaching because of the extra height. So I used a 20...
Be careful! Run away! Ah! Oh my god! That was amazing.
We're good.
Okay,
we're good.
ocean cannot wants us to speed up and get straight to the waves. Yeah. So what you were saying again?
Yeah. Well, I guess that proves that time and tide wait for no man. So back to the cable lengths. For me, the 20 centimeter distance that I had with the Assist Plus, I actually still prefer the 20 centimeter cable with the Max or the Slim, despite the extra length of the boxes themselves. Now, that's the motor with the cable only. If you want to get an integrated mast, there is the Cedrus option, which is still as awesome as ever, and it allows you to get an adapter for a huge range of different foil types. There is now the Axis FOILDRIVE integrated mast, which for Axis users will be absolutely super cool. And FOILDRIVE will be bringing out in the future other integrated masts from other brands. We're trying to make this system as good and as easy to use for as many people out there as possible. This is a true retrofit system that we want to be available to every user possible. The benefits from the integrated mast for having the motor down close to the fuselage, that's huge, because you're saving all the drag from the cable all the way down the whole length of the mast, and as such it really turns that whole continual motoring or foil driving experience into something that is so good. I've got to be honest, I don't mean this any detrimental way at all to people who use it and like efoils, because I know that if you like efoiling, it's an amazing thing and nothing can change that, nothing can take it away. But for me personally, I prefer proper foiling on waves, swell, downwinding, winging, that sort of stuff. And for me, the extra weight and the drag from a proper efoil, it just doesn't do it for me. But being able to use the Assist Max with a power battery and an integrated mast with the motor at the bottom close to the fuselage has turned that sort of efoiling experience into such a fun experience for me, because I'm using my own personal setup with my own foils, my own finely tuned setup, the board of my choice, and I just love it. It's super light to set up, about 12 kilos total. I can go super fast, or I can do super tight little turns. I can catch and ride swell for short periods of time. It's not as good for surfing and downwinding with the motor right close to the fuse, but it's still possible. But really, for blasting around efoil style, I'm now back into it. I really do enjoy it. And the flat water day, I've now got flat water pumping and that sort of full driving motoring experience. Now, you can efoil with the cable all the way down, and it's a really super cheap option for those people who will mostly be doing foiling with the motor in assist position, but maybe a family member or a friend just want to do a little bit of gentle motoring around. Then having the cable option is a super cheap way of having the best of both worlds. Cool.
Yeah, I think I would add that it's good for your first season. You can get a regular mast, and then you can understand which position you like the most, instead of just buying integrated mast with a fixed position. Then you realize, oh no, I want it like 10 centimeters higher or lower, because I see people have regrets, like I ordered 25 or I wanted 15, and they get confused. So it's better they get like a regular and then they upgrade.
That's a really great point. Yeah, I mean, the motor with the cables, they're not actually, relatively speaking, they're not actually that expensive. They're a pretty cost-effective way of changing motor heights or having a range of different motor positions on your mast. And like you say, when you've dialed it in and you know exactly what you want, then that would be the best time to get the integrated mast, because even having like this distance of cable, when you're hybrid foiling, eventually when you're tuned into your setup, you can notice that little bit of drag. And although it's not the end of the world, it's nicer not to have it. And also the convenience, don't underestimate how easy it is just to have an integrated mast. You slap it on and there's no messing around with any cables, with you cut down the amount of bolts that you have to use. It just makes the whole thing super slick and easy as well.
Yeah, and it's also important to mention this duct tape. I mean, it might not look very sexy, but it's really reducing the drag.
Absolutely. If you don't completely cover the cable with tape, then you are actually increasing the drag from that cable by a lot more than you think. With the tape, what it does is it helps the water to wrap around the mast and cable smoothly, or at least smoother. If you don't have tape around the whole length of the mast, then the parts of the cable that don't have tape, the water will hit that cable and it will basically just cause a huge amount of turbulence, and just, it's unnecessary.
Another important thing that's coming with Generation 2 is the new app that you can configure the power levels, plus your new remote control also has a boost mode. So tell us a little bit more about this.
Absolutely, yeah. So all you got to do is download the app onto your mobile phone. You then use the QR code to scan the code that's laser engraved onto both sides of your Gen 2 box, and that will synchronize your app to your particular model. You'll be able to have so many cool functions, like you've just said, boost mode. You can turn it on and off. You can set the level of the boost mode. You can set the duration of the boost mode, all within preset parameters, of course, because we don't want people to overload the system and damage it. There's all sorts of fail-safe systems in there. So on the Assist Plus, there is that battery percentage display, which obviously you can't have one of those on a box that's underwater. You can see the battery percentage on your controller by pressing the on button 4 times, and that will show you the battery percentage. But also, when the battery gets to, I think, under 10%, then the software will instantly limit it, and it will basically reduce power levels down to about 25% to protect the battery in the system. If you have used your system, you're having such a cool session, you've forgotten how long you've been on the water, if you suddenly experience a massive reduction in power, don't panic. That's the fail-safe system kicking in, and you know that you've got enough power still to limp in without having to do the walk of shame. But it's really important because it protects the battery and the whole system. There's so many other cool features on the app. There's preset modes, beginner, sport, power user, all those sorts of things. Check it out, because you also get access to all of the Help Center videos from the FOILDRIVE website, and a whole load more things. We've got plans in the future, like the OneWheel sort of system to be able to analyze data from your ride, all sorts of stuff coming in the future. But from the word go, it's going to be really cool.
Okay, so also speaking of the battery level, it's important to mention that the correct level is the one that is not under load. So when you release the trigger, then you see more power, basically.
Yeah.
And then when you ride it, it will show you less power, and this is normal.
That's correct, yeah. So for example, if I'm just sitting there on my board and I look at the controller, it might read, say, 70%. Or when I'm motoring around with, say, 60 or 70% throttle, it will say 15 or 20% less than that reading. Like Mike says, the real reading is the reading when it's not under load.
Okay, another question was at what battery level you return, usually to the beach, and also do you discharge the batteries after you use it, or when you store them long time, or it's not necessary?
Okay, first part of that question was, when should you come in? There's no set rule. Some people like to come in when it says 30%. Some people go down to 20, some 10. I'm sure some people will wait until the fail-safe kicks in. I've got to say, for me personally, somewhere between 10 and 20%. Occasionally, if I do go down below 10 and the fail-safe kicks in, it's not the end of the world. But if you're really concerned to maintain your battery the best possible way, I would say don't go below 20% all the time or often. I don't think it's going to hurt it if you do. All batteries will degrade slowly over time. That's just the way that battery chemistry works. But to prevent that from happening, or to reduce how quickly the battery deteriorates, treat it well, and I think around about 20% would be absolutely adequate and will not cause any detriment to your battery whatsoever. Like I say, I'm happy to go down to close to 10, and I've not really felt any batteries deteriorating quicker than others when I do that sort of runtime. The other part of the question was about discharging batteries.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's not good to keep your battery fully charged for a long period of time. And you know, if you keep it fully charged for a week, I don't think it's going to do it much harm. If you keep it fully charged for, say, 2 weeks, then yeah, you're beginning to get into the point of harming your battery, but not instantly. Not, you know, it's a very slow process. If you keep it fully charged for a month or for, you know, a week at a time, all the time, if you see what I mean. So you use it once, you charge it straight away afterwards, and you leave it for a week, and then you do that repeatedly, then yes, that's not going to be good for your battery. So battery maintenance and care, I think the important thing for people to know is you don't have to be obsessive about it. If you know you're not going to use your battery for more than a week, make sure it's around about 40 to 60% is the perfect storage charge.
Yeah, it's good to notice. It's not good to also leave it at zero completely.
Oh,
months,
definitely, yeah.
It's just that then.
Yeah, but certainly more than 20%, certainly less than 80%, 40 to 60 being ideal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And now you also have the battery capacity indicator, which you can just check the battery level, yeah?
That's right. That does not come as standard with the Assist kits. You can buy the battery checker as an optional extra from the FOILDRIVE website, or when you place your order. They're pretty cheap. They're if you've got multiple batteries, I find them really useful because I forget which ones are on, you know, partial charge, which ones I've charged, which ones I haven't. So just rather than plugging them all in and scrolling through the controller each time, you literally just pop it onto the battery plug. It instantly reads the battery percentage, and that's it. But it's really important that people know you cannot use the battery checker that's made for the Assist Plus with the Gen 2 batteries. It will read the wrong percentage because the Assist Plus batteries are on a 30 volt 8S system, whereas the Gen 2 batteries, at least battery A, B and D, are all on the 40 volt 11S system. So the new battery checkers for the Gen 2 will read the correct percentage. Battery C, when that comes out, the endurance battery, that's the large battery for the Assist Slim, that will also be on the 30 volt 8S system, and that one can be used with the same chargers as the Assist Plus and the same battery checker for the Assist Plus. The chargers and the battery checker for the Gen 2 batteries A, B and D are different to the Assist Plus system.
Yeah, speaking of chargers, you have two separate chargers. It's not the same as old FOILDRIVE. It's a standard and fast charger now.
Yeah, this is right, because the battery for the Assist Max is bigger, at least the large battery. The power battery is essentially twice as big as the Assist Plus standard battery. It takes a long time to charge with a standard charger. So FOILDRIVE have available a fast charger. It's not standard with the pack. When you buy an Assist Plus or Slim, you get the standard 40 volt charger in there, and that's fine for for batteries A, B and D. But battery A, the power battery, will take a long time to charge. I think in excess of 3 hours, 3.5 hours, about that. So the fast charger, if you want to buy that as an additional extra, will charge the power battery, I think, in about an hour and a half. And it makes a real difference if you're, you know, wanting to use it multiple times in the same day, or certainly that sort of use.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Yeah, but I should say you can't use the fast charger with battery D, because that is so small that basically that charging it that quickly would be very bad for that battery. The sport battery, you can use it occasionally with a fast charger. But if you use it all the time with a fast charger, again, it's not good, because for any battery to be charged quickly, it needs to have a big capacity for it not to, for it to be able to cope with that demand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely gets several batteries, because a lot of people are buying like 6-7 batteries.
It's all good, whatever people either can afford or what they want to do. I mean, if you know you're only going to have an hour on the water each day, then one battery's fine. But if you know you're going to have short bursts of like a day, a few days a week of where you just want to be on the water all the time, then 2 batteries is fine. If it's the power battery, you've got the fast charge and no problem. Even 2 batteries for the sport battery, even with the standard charger, is fine. But yeah, for me, more batteries just means more fun.
All right. And also another question was about durability of the system. So can it sustain heavy pounding by the waves, by wipeouts? And actually we've seen this double overhead Casey video, so I guess the answer is yes. Yeah.
The answer is definitely yes. We have no question in our minds whatsoever about the durability and the strength of this system. It is so strong. The boxes are machine tooled out of solid billet aluminium. You could don't drive a tank over them, but you get what I mean. They are stronger than any part of your board, mast, foil setup. Literally, it'll take pounding. Please don't. For your own sake.
I guess people are concerned because you're basically standing on the box and you're squeezing it.
Yeah, that's genius, Paul, for coming up with this system and making it work, and making it affordable to us. I know it's expensive, but this is not cheap to produce, and the amount of R&D that's gone into it has been absolutely phenomenal. In actual fact, this box strengthens your system because the box is longer, maybe a few mil wider than your mast plate, but certainly longer. And what that does is it spreads out the force over a greater surface area on your board, between the mast and on the board. So it's less likely to rip the tracks out of your board because of that force being over a bigger surface area. So in actual fact, using the Gen 2 system strengthens your board.
All right, which leads us to the next question. All the components except the motor are completely different, so some people ask if they can upgrade from the old system to Gen 2.
Right, so this is something that we've heard some concerns about, and Paul tried so hard to make it as interchangeable as possible, but at the end of the day, this is a completely different system. The battery's obviously wrong shape, wrong voltage, so that's impossible. The motor, like you say, is the same, but we are using a stronger ball bearing at the back of the stator. The Gen 2 pods, the outer sleeve is stronger because of the extra force now that's being generated by the Gen 2 system. The hand controller, the V2 controller, is the same. We don't have 2 different versions of the V2 controller, that's the same. Obviously the twin or the triple props, absolutely fine to interchange. But really, that's it. Now, if you want to reuse those parts, controller, no problem at all. So if your Assist Plus is broken, and that's unlikely because we can fix pretty much anything that you guys throw at the Assist Plus, so why would you rob parts from your Assist Plus to, save a few bucks on the new system when you're losing all that value, potential second-hand value, resale value of your Assist Plus? And while it is theoretically possible to send your Assist Plus back to FOILDRIVE, who would then cut the cable, fit the new plug on, that then has to be sent to a different factory for the plug to be overmolded, and change the bearing at the back, and all this with labour, delivery costs, all those extra charges, you're really not saving much more than 100, maybe 200 Australian dollars. And for all that hassle and totally devaluing your Assist Plus, what's the point? Yeah. Really, I'd be surprised if it's ever offered as a service, because it would cost FOILDRIVE so much hassle to stop production to get individual things like this done. If it was worth it, if we can see a big saving to our customers, of course we will do that. We're not in the business of just trying to scam people for as much money as possible. We are trying to produce a product of such good performance, first and foremost, but secondly, and equally as importantly, at the best price point possible. And they tried, but they just couldn't make the two systems interchangeable. And as for having a plug that then fits into the Assist Plus, well, it just doesn't work on the box, because the plastic box isn't as strong as the metal box. So the chance of that being ripped out of the box and damaging everything is just too much.
Good point. And speaking of reliability, I wanted to add and compliment Paul, Ben, and whole team, and of course you, because most of the companies, they just rush the product to the market. They never try it. Some don't even try in the water once. They just want to sell it as quickly as possible. But Paul and Ben is completely opposite mindset. They always test it themselves. They have a big team riders team. I think this is the biggest team riders list compared to all the companies. Even expensive efoil brands don't have such a big list of team riders, you know. And each of you is testing it for months and months. So Gen 2 is released right now, but you've been riding it already 1 year, yeah?
Oh, more than a year. Yeah, the first prototypes that I was sent was about nearly 1.5 years ago. But yeah, probably about 18 months ago when I was still living in Oman. And yeah, although I can't comment as to how many team riders we have in comparison to other companies, that's I think not the point. The point is that FOILDRIVE, you are right, FOILDRIVE have got a range of team riders, from, you know, complete beginners to complete pro riders. I mean, we've got James Casey, Paul Cooper, all of these guys at such a high level are finding uses for it, but at the same time, complete beginners are finding it so good at helping them to learn. And most people, me included, I bought my Assist originally thinking I'll use that to help me learn to foil, to help me do downwinding and prone foiling, and then I'll sell it on. I don't want to sell it because I'm finding so many more uses, so many more benefits from it. It's still helping me no matter where I reach in terms of standard and skill. I think it will always help me to develop more and more and more. The team riders have tested it not only at different levels of skill, but in so many different conditions. And I think you're absolutely right to point that out, because some companies just have pro riders for their team riders, and those pro riders can make anything look good. But trust me, if I can do what I'm doing on this, and I'm really not as good as the videos make out, it's all in the edit. If I can do it, trust me, anybody can do it. And it really is a case that I genuinely believe that FOILDRIVE products are the most versatile pieces of equipment that you can have in foiling. It'll help you with every discipline of foiling for every skill level. It's just, like I say, that's why I joined the company.
Yeah, and of course we should thank Dominic as well. You are one of the most inspirational people for me. So I wouldn't even get into foil driving if I didn't find your channel where you showed impossible things, that you can ride those tiny boards, you can catch the waves, you can even stand up on the flat water. And all your teachings, techniques, you made so big, long comparisons with all the details. I think it's immense help for the community, so we should all be very thankful to you.
Well,
all
that's
you do.
Really kind. Thank you very much. But also back to you, because you know a lot of people have been taking inspiration from you. I love watching your videos myself, and the more we can educate people about how to use FOILDRIVE and all the different possibilities that it offers people, then hopefully more and more people can have fun with it as well.
All right, we covered almost everything, and my final question would be, I know you're setting up new FOILDRIVE Europe now in Netherlands, so finally people from Europe don't have to order from Australia with a lot of huge import taxes and shipping. What's up with that? What's your plans for the next year, and can people order in future from Europe?
Absolutely they can. Yes, FOILDRIVE Europe is a subsidiary company of FOILDRIVE Australia, so it's still owned by FOILDRIVE, therefore FOILDRIVE will be able to fully control everything in terms of quality, customer service. I'll be running FOILDRIVE Europe for them, although I'll be based in the Netherlands. I will be able to travel around throughout the whole of Europe and the UK. When stock is built up enough for me to hold quantity of stock, then I will be able to send stock out to stockists. And if you don't have a stockist in your local area, then yeah, we will be able to supply sales direct to individuals. We would always recommend people go to a stockist first, because it's just so much easier to for yourself to be able to go to and speak to the person you bought it from in terms of customer backup, after sales care and service, advice on how to use it, that sort of thing. So yeah, everything should be a lot easier for people in Europe and the UK from pretty soon into 2024.
Mm-hmm. The final most important questions from Facebook is to get you to try my sunglasses. Here you go.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm honoured. I'll get you to hold those. Right, here we go.
All right. Now you.
Hey,
You
champions!
like me. Hi, champion.
Let's go!
Alright guys, that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I want to thank the team of FOILDRIVE, Paul, Ben, and of course Dominic for letting me in and try this amazing product. And if you are still on the edge and not sure, definitely go for it. You're gonna love it for sure, and it will help you improve your foiling experience, no matter if you're a beginner or you're already intermediate or professional. It will just give you 50 waves instead of 2 waves in half an hour, you know. It's
Absolutely
just about the numbers, you know. It's how much you can improve your foiling and speed up your riding.
So much more time on foil.
And just opens amazing possibilities in downwinding, in prone foiling, in wind foiling, in tow. So it's just unbelievable.
My favourite thing at the moment is wake thieving. I have never ever gone so far. I had an hour session of just following wake after wake after wake. There's no problem. When I was wake thieving from a dock or from a ladder, really, I would always be limited in how far I can go, because I knew that if I went too far I wouldn't be able to pump back, and that paddle back on a tiny board is horrible. Now I can just go so far, chase down so many wakes. Again, it's still hybrid foiling. I can use the max and like scoot, you know, like a kilometre to the next wake if I want to. With the slim, I'm not motoring. If I run out of leg power before I reach the next wake, I just come down, sit on my board until my legs have recovered, and then use the trigger straight back up on foil to join the next wake. Oh, it's just so much fun, it really is.
All right, you said it. So definitely get FOILDRIVE and have a session of your lifetime. Take care, guys. Thank you for watching. Cheers. Bye.